Hello and welcome. We're just going to go through quickly a really quick story that I'm sure you already know, but I just want to make sure that we're putting our stamp on it, right? The Democrats are taking swipes at President Biden for new oil imports in countries led by dictators now that the United States has put the kibosh on Russian oil imports. Representative Patrick Maloney, New York Democrat and chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, said the United States should not be trading in one tyrant for another. He says that he doesn't think it's wise so that we can meet the energy needs of Americans. Quote, "We need to blow a hole in the Russian economy and we need to lower the gas prices for American consumers. Everything should be on the table, but I don't support strengthening one dictator to hurt another. So I don't think you'll see us do that," close quote. Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Menendez fumed about the Biden administration flirting with imports from Venezuela, the dictator Mr. Nicolas Maduro. He says, quote, "Nicolas Maduro is a cancer to our hemisphere, and we should not breathe new life into his reign of torture and murder. As such, I would strongly oppose any action that fills the pockets of regime oligarchs with oil profits while Maduro continues to deprive Venezuelans of basic human rights, freedoms, and even food." This is not the first time that Menendez parted ways with Biden when it comes to Venezuela. In early February, he criticized the president over the deportation of Venezuelan immigrants seeking asylum, saying that it was extremely disturbing and unconscionable. The Biden administration officials traveled to Venezuela last week to talk to the country officials about possibly lifting the sanctions and purchasing its oil to replenish the fuel that will be lost in the U.S. ban on Russian oil imports. It is unclear if the outreach to the authoritarian regimes will result in deals to import energy, but the administration made the initial calculation that it might be an acceptable trade-off to deliver a blow to the Kremlin and minimize the damage to the American consumers. But to my knowledge, didn't we just get somebody released from over there in Venezuela? I'm not saying they have anything to do with one another, but I'm going to leave this link down below in the description for you. And I'm almost positive that, we just had somebody released from Venezuela earlier today. So we'll just keep our eyes out to see exactly how that goes. Hello, for truth. Maybe Dems can put wind turbines on all their cars. Well, I hear you saying that, and it's pretty funny, but there's a lot. And I think that what we're going to do here is we don't have any members for this channel yet, but I do want to invite everybody to follow me on I'm on a couple of places, but the one place that comes to mind is Clubhouse. If you are a part of Clubhouse, you can find me by the Lockhart Perspective there, and we can have a very good conversation. And just sort of, maybe kick the can around the yard a little bit. But to just go on ahead and put a button on this story and finish it up, let me go ahead and do that. It is unclear if the outreach to the authoritarian regimes will result in deals to import energy, but the administration has made initial calculation that might be an acceptable trade-off to deliver a blow to the Kremlin and minimize the damage to American consumers. Mr. Biden is also expected to travel to Saudi Arabia to urge the Saudis to increase their production of oil. Additionally, Mr. Biden is reportedly looking to Iran as another source of oil if he can restore a nuclear deal with the authoritarian Islamic regime. Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and the first Somali elected to Congress criticized the administration on Twitter for seeking to lean on Saudi Arabia for oil. She says, quote, "Our response to Putin's immoral war shouldn't be to strengthen our relationship with the Saudis, who are currently causing the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet in Yemen. Yemenis are not, might not matter to some she says, geopolitically, but their humanity should be." Now, I want to take you to this story because I thought that it was intriguing, and it's gonna shift just a little bit, but this is telling me that I know that there's a whole lot more that we need to talk about. The Pentagon on Tuesday evening was forced to, and I'm not going to use that term, but I'm sure you can see it there on the screen. I'm going to say reject. All right, the Pentagon on Tuesday evening was forced to reject an unexpected Polish proposal to transfer the latter's jets into American custody before sending them on to Ukraine. Poland had seemingly blindsided the United States and other allies by announcing earlier in the day that they would send in its entire fleet of Russian MiG-29s to a major U.S. Air Force base, I would imagine, in Germany, in response to a course of appeals from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to upgrade the Ukraine's defense against a vicious Russian invasion. Polish authorities and other allied leaders agreed that the provision of the planes raised the risk of an unprecedented war between NATO and Russia, and the decision to transfer the planes to Ramstein, that is an air base, Ramstein, a U.S. Air Force base in Germany, represents an attempt to sidestep that risk by placing the responsibility for the gift of more powerful NATO members. Okay? The Polish government also requested, says, and this is a quote, other NATO ally owners of MiG-29 jets to act in the same vein, the Polish Foreign Ministry said on Tuesday, while announcing that it would transfer ownership of its fighter jets to the United States, with the understanding that the planes would ultimately be flown into combat by Ukrainian pilots. But the Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby responded Tuesday evening saying, we will continue to consult with Poland and our other allies about this issue and the difficult logistical challenges it presents, but we do not believe Poland's proposal is a tenable one. This is his quote, and it ends there. The Polish proposal would have meant a substantial increase in Ukrainian air power, as the Polish-owned MiGs have been upgraded and modernized to function as a valuable part of the Central European country NATO's caliber military. Yet it caught U.S. officials unawares, as Warsaw had claimed in the public that this gift to the Ukraine would be too risky. Now, I'm going to quote this right here, and then I'm going to tell you what I think about this whole thing. So it goes on to say that I think, this is a quote, I think that that actually was a surprise move by the Poles. This is from the Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland, who was testifying before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee when the Polish government made its announcement. He told this to Janine Shahan, a New Hampshire Democrat. So here's what I think this whole thing is. What I think that we're dealing with right now, this is what I think that we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with a lot of sleight of hand. Now, I don't know, but let's just say, for example, that no one was the wiser that Poland was going to attempt to bring those planes. Maybe let's just say, for example, no one knew at all. And then all of a sudden, poof, here they go. Let's give them this. Well, I think that it could be an example of possibly them putting the cart before the horse and messing up something that wasn't real in the first place. And I'm going to leave that there. But I think that there is a lot of stuff to be said about what's going on. And so the bigger distraction, as I said earlier today, is the fact that we here in the United States have just got through looking over some of the things that's going on with here's what I think it is. What I think is there's a bigger distraction. This is the 13th biblical month, okay? The 13th biblical month is what this is right here. And that means that we're going to be going into Passover and a lot of other biblical feast days. I said this earlier today, and I'm going to stand by this. I think that the distraction has a lot to do with the fact that they're cranking up good old CERN here at the end of this month. And I think there's a lot to be said about it. Last time I was taken by surprise in 2016 with a lot of the changes that were done. And I do believe that it just might be what's going to happen again this time. Don't know for sure, but we just might be. I don't know. but it just might be. So we'll have to keep a look on this and look at this. Now, one other thing is that where Maduro is concerned, as we were talking about Maduro just a few minutes ago, they were, dancing around with the whole idea of not taking any of the oil. That's what some of the Democrats are saying. No, we don't want to take any oil from Maduro. We don't want to deal. We don't want to trade one particular, oligarchy for another. We don't want to trade in one bad guy for another. Well, that all makes great sense, except for the fact that, as I just stated, they just released someone. And if they just released someone, then that means that somebody may have made a deal, right? Yeah. That means somebody may have made a deal. And it's good that you caught me. I'm very glad that you're here, Charles. Good to see you as well. Vine Dressers Branch 2, hello, how are you? I'm so glad to see you. You guys hear the babies in the background, unfortunately. But the point that I was making is, I believe that in order for us to have somebody that was released today from Venezuela, that they did, in fact, make a deal. And because they did make a deal, that means that there's a whole lot of stuff going around. Here, let's just pretend for a second that we're playing chess, right? And if we're playing chess, that means that we're very cognizant of the board. We're very cognizant of the players. And because we're cognizant of the players, maybe people who are looking may not necessarily know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at your queen or your rook, right? But here's what's really going on. They are beginning to set up the world stage for narrowing it down to one set of specific oil. The United States, more than likely, as long as Biden is not getting the pressure that he needs from the rest of the Democrats, he more than likely will not open up any other pipelines. The United States is one of the richest places on the planet when it comes to oil. We've got our own. We shouldn't be going over to any other place to do anything. And that's how we normal people look at it, that we shouldn't be going anywhere else to ask for anything because we are oil rich, right? Okay, that's the reason why I say that something is afoot, because we have our own. And if we're going to put pressure on anybody, we should be putting pressure on him to get it from home, not from somewhere else. This is about a whole lot more. This is about moving the chess pieces on the table, on the board, to put them strategically where they need to be in order for the next phase to go on. Now, what's the next phase? Well, we've got November coming up. Nobody ever. Now, I've been hearing things say, when the pandemic was around or the pandemic is over and all that other stuff. Well, how is it over if we have just extended the state of emergency for the United States? The seated president did that. So, no, we are still under control. Yeah, and the only reason why we've sort of leaned up and sort of let up a little bit of the tension on the necks and the faces of humans and people here in America is simply because we know that November is right around the corner. That's exact. Think about that. You see? We know what November is, and everybody who's been in places like, I don't know, New York and California and other places where it's been pretty hectic, right? Over the past 2 years. 2 years this month, okay? In just a few days, it'll be 2 years. Now you give somebody the illusion that they are just free to go about the country. You're just free to go everywhere you want to go. Do whatever you want to do, okay? Do whatever you want to do. Then yeah, that means that they're setting up for something, because if you were letting it go altogether, then you would just not have reinstated the state of emergency that was put in place on March the 13th of 2020, right? No, you wouldn't have done that. And yes, on the 28th of this month, the CERN is due to set those great colliders off again. Isn't it exciting? Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. And so you've got this being the technical 13th biblical month. And I say month because, as you know, it's made by the moon, months. And then you've also got a pivotal time coming, and that you're right up on going right into Passover. Right? You're going right into Passover. And usually things happen whenever you've got biblical timelines, or whenever you've got anything that's going on with this, they do the same things that they do, all the stuff that they do when we do what we do. That's what I'm saying. And so we've got to keep our eyes open, and we've got to make sure that we're aware of everything that's going on around us, because this is not by accident. There is a huge distraction that's throwing you off of what's going on in the cosmos, as it were, this month and next month. Look it up, do your research. Don't believe anything I'm saying, but do your research. We are going to have a show that we're going to dedicate specifically to all of the stuff that's going on. I'm not sure if you guys caught the last story that we did. It was a bit fuzzy because I listened back on it, and I want to make sure that I take it. Maybe I don't want to take it down because that will mess up her algorithm on her channel. But what I will say is this: there is a lot of stuff that is going on. And if we do not pay attention this time, okay, this time, it will take a lot of us by shock. In 2016, I was absolutely gobsmacked. I was absolutely unprepared for what I would find when I would open up the book of Isaiah and see words that I had literally been teaching across the pulpit for years to women's ministries and children's women's ministries. I never taught men because that was not what I was called to do. I was only taught to, I was only called to share with women and children. But when I say that, I remember teaching from those particular passages, and they literally changed. They had literally changed. Well, there had been some stirring of what's about to happen now then. So what I want to say is, it's just important for us to be prepared for everything and trust the Father for all of your information. Don't trust me. Don't trust any humans at all. Go and seek him. Look at the things that I'm telling you, and you can draw your own conclusion, of course, via the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, right? You can draw your own conclusions as to what's going on, but I guarantee you, these things are not by accident, that you've got this big distraction that causes and puts fear into the hearts of people. And then all of a sudden over here, they quietly announce that they are going to turn on the Hadron Collider on I think it's the 28th. Let me pull it up for you. I will definitely do that. Okay, let me get it for you, because I want you to have a resource that you can check out. All right. I would rather tell you and anything, something would happen than to not. All right. I would rather tell you than, I would rather do that. Okay. The pre-spring update from the accelerator complex. All right. Here we are. I'm going to let you see this right here. Okay. There it is. All right. And it's right here. All right, so this was dated on February the 23rd, and I will give you all the link right here. Let me go inside and just drop this link down here for you guys. Hey, Rage Against the Machine. The funny thing is, I was traveling back, and I put on Rage Against the Machine to help me stay up, to help me stay awake. Oh, I could not transfer it. Wow. Huh. Aren't they special? Let me see if it lets me do it this time. I put on Rage Against the Machine to drive. I love their music because it helps keep me awake. Okay, there it is. All right, so there is the link, and you can take that, and you can look at it. All right, but here's what it says: midwinter spring is its own season, and the injector complex has started to shake off the relativity, or the relatively short. Sorry, y'all. You guys get to see my my Bidenisms. Short but effective year-end technical stop. Now, it goes on to say that on February the 14th, which is another sacrificial day, that's the 14th, that's another blood sacrifice day, whether you guys know that or not, because that is Februa, all right, which everybody considers February, but it has nothing to, it's got all the blood and everything you would want to think about it, being swiped around with flesh of, just dig into it, okay? The H ions were accelerated again to 160 MeV in the Linic 4, and taken in the direction of the booster beam. And it was taken into another booster itself ahead of schedule on Friday the 18th of February. Physics is slated to start the ISLODE. Now, let me scroll down to my reference point, because I need you to see the date. It should be March the 28th here. Let me do a find really quickly, because y'all ain't got time to sit here and fumble around. Let me give it to you. Okay. 28th. All right. March 28th. Okay. Felicia. Is it this story here? No, it's not, because that's them responding to everything that was going on the dealing with the Ukraine. Because whether you know it or not, CERN is really, really close with Ukraine and several other nation states. However, here we go, right up here. All the sectors of the LHC are now cold following the pre-Christmas warm-up and the subsequent successful replacement of the plug-in model with the buckled RF finger in the sector 2 and 3 during the YETS or YETS, however you want to pronounce it. Some residual YETS activities are still ongoing in the tunnel, but the key was passed from the coordination team to the LHC operations team on the 15th of February, with electrical quality assurance, or ELQA, completed in all sectors bar 2 through 3. The focus now shifts to the extensive powering test campaign of all the magnet circuits, which is now underway, with around 8,000 tests planned in all. Sector 2 through 3 should be ready to start its final dipole training to 6.8 TeV towards the end of March, with the interleaved training and machine checkout will begin. That's when it's going to begin, it says. I'm so distracted because I got people in the house, kids, grandkids, and they really drive me bad, but it's okay. I took a vacation. All right. So commissioning of the LHC's other accelerator systems, such as RF culmination beam. You guys will correct me on this because y'all got the link down yonder, okay? And the beam and all this transverse damper vacuum and so on is also underway in parallel, and all the LHC experiments will be continuing their final preparations with some tight deadlines still to be met. The LHC beam's commissioning with 450 GeV protons is scheduled to start April the 11th, with the collisions at 450 GeV per beam expected around May 10th. Remember, we did the story a while ago when they were giving the incremental dates and times? Yeah, so it's going to start at the end of this month, then it'll go again in April, and then it'll go again in May, and it'll continue, and then it's going to stop, remember? And then it'll pick back up in 2025. Yeah, here it is, 2025. All right, looking ahead, there is 2025 until the end of 2025. With a long shutdown lasting 3 years, all right, instead of the previously envisaged 2.5 years. So we are going into something, and it's dealing with something, and it's not something small. There you go, right here, and the east area of March the 28th. You see that? On February 14th, it's right there, and then the physics is slated to start the ISOLDE. And this is N_TOF for those people out there who may be, physicists, really good mathematicians and things of that nature. You'll forgive me, and you'll help the friends of yours in the chat with what I'm trying to say. It says here that it's and the east area on March the 25th following the recommissioning of the booster. So we're headed for something. That's all I know. All I know is in my knower, like my grandmama and them used to say, we are headed for something. We're headed for something. And so what I'm telling you is, yeah, we've got a lot of distractions, but it's for a reason. These distractions are not by accident. Not by accident at all. Okay? And so I want you guys to know that. So I'm going to say hey to everybody here. We've only been together for 24 hours. So I know that the people who only want really short videos, maybe they won't mind. But let me just go on ahead and get to the good part. All right. So we've got Truth is there. And then we've got Charles Vinedresser's branch 2. Hello. Okay. All right. Ludmila, thank you for being here. Anarchy Television, how are you? Chad Gomez, hello. Okay, of course, Rage is my brother. He's here, brother from another mother. Anti-Venom Adams, hello, how are you? Such cool names you guys come up with. I was always a dork. I just put my name out there. Hey, Daryl, how are you? And hey, Zeb Johnson. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here, but I didn't mean to just drag along. But here's my nuts and bolts. Here are my points before I leave. My points before I leave without the rambling is the distractions, don't be distracted by them. Okay. There is no way, I'm going to say this, and this is me, not ya. I'm saying there is no way that we're dealing with anything nuclear right now. Okay. It may happen. And I'm saying that I'm saying it, not ya. I'm not receiving anything from God, as you would, his name. I'm not. What I'm saying is this is a distraction. But this that I just told you is going to happen. So do not allow yourself to be distracted. Show love to everybody that you know. Treat everybody kind. Be good to everyone. Make sure that you take care of yourself. You take care of everybody else. Do like I did last week. Get you some self-care so you can keep your mind clear, because you never know with 5G and all this other stuff what's really going on or what's it all about, Alfie. How about that? Do me a big favor, you guys. Hit the like button before we leave. And if you can, share this out. I mean, I know it's a bit of rambling, but I do make a little bit of sense. Anyway, I love you guys all. Remember what we always say, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High Yah. You guys take care of yourselves, please, and take care of one another. Until we see each other again, continue to be blessed.